Hello, friend. Today is September 26th, and in the business section of our program, we have a very important subject which is called moonlighting. Lately, you have been hearing a lot about this term. So, in this program, we will understand what is moonlighting and why the enterprises are going crazy about it and started firing their people. Let's discuss this. Well, first of all, we need to understand what is moonlighting, and moonlighting is basically a term used especially by the enterprises themselves, where if there is a employee and if he is given 100% for 8 hours during the time where he is employed during the pandemic, the enterprises allowed various employees to if they have inclination and if they have the time, resources and willpower to work for others. And because of that, this whole concept of moonlighting came. That means you have finished your work. After that, now you are burning the midnight lamp and working for somebody else. And now, almost after 2 years or more than 2 years, companies have started realizing that this is something which is not done. And that is why large companies, starting with Infosys, TCS, and likes of the others, they are saying that the moonlighting is not allowed now. So if they find that some of their employees are doing moonlighting, in the sense that they're working for some other company during their time, they will fire those employees. And in fact, the first company to start moonlighting, at least in India, was a company called Swiggy, and they are the one who actually started this mission, where they allowed people, if they have the inclination, they have the time and they have the will to basically work for more number of brands and make money. Swiggy was the first company, and later on everybody allowed it. But what has happened is that after the pandemic, most of the people are now willing to work as a contract employee rather than a permanent employee, because the nature of the business is also very rapidly changing. The technology landscape is also very rapidly changing. And as we proceed towards 5G, new type of applications will come, which will have better interaction with among the people, and so on and so forth. So I think the landscape itself is changing. And when the company says that, hey, moonlighting is not allowed, I think they are, in my opinion, are very apprehensive about the change itself. I think what happens is that when the companies have certain set of business, and they have certain set of pipeline and the revenue stream, then any change to that is very is sort of risky for them, or the management thinks that this is very, very risky and we should not allow this to happen. So they are now, it's for them as an existential crisis, because now the business landscape is changing, employee behavior is changing, the HR policies which used to attract the employees earlier is not working. So this is when the companies are coming out and saying that, hey, we will fire you if we catch you moonlighting, that means working for other companies. We will fire you. And they have started doing that. I mean, every day for last 10 days or so, we are hearing that some 300 people have been fired by this corporate, and so on and so forth. But do really people care about this? Do they really care? Because if they are used to moonlighting, and if they are more than willing to work as a contract employee rather than a permanent employee, then how does it matter? So if you fire 300 people, they will continue to do moonlighting. In fact, they get more freedom. So I think this step of existing corporates and now going against the moonlighting, which is, I'm again repeating this word moonlighting, which is another smarter word for working for multiple companies. So you work for 4 hours for a company, another 4 hours for another company. It's called moonlighting. That means you're not employed permanently, by one company. Well, because of this concept of working for multiple companies, and there are certain companies who are in favor of this, and there are certain companies who are totally against this. So for employees, what is there to watch out? I think the most important lesson that I want to, or rather than advice, I like to share with the viewers here is that there are 8 to 10 different types of employment contracts which are available right now. And employees need to really look at what are the terms and conditions they are getting into, because if they are getting into something which is very, very sort of binding, that means a company says that you are employed permanently with us and you will not be allowed to work with anybody else, it should be read carefully before you sign off that. And because the landscape is changing, in my opinion, in next 2 years, situation will be totally different what you see in 2022, because 5G is going to come. There is going to be new applications which will leverage the power of 5G, and so on and so forth. So even the e-commerce business will undergo a lot of changes. As it is, spamming on the phone is not allowed. So people calling each other, following up and trying to sell something, hey, why didn't you buy this product from me? So those kind of jobs will slowly disappear and will be taken over by intelligent bots. Basically AI will come in a big way. So humans will have to do something else much more creative, and all of this is changing. So if somebody says that moonlighting is illegal, I think that is a very it's like an old school thought in today's term. While we talk about all this, there are certain jobs, I must clarify, there are certain jobs in which moonlighting will not be allowed legally. So there is a legal framework also which will undergo a little bit of change in terms of employability. While we have these contracts which are written by the private companies, the moonlighting is definitely not allowed by the government employees, because government does not allow any sort of extra employment for their employees. So in fact they are barred and they can be prosecuted for malpractices. So I mean, when we look at the private sector, it is governed separately, and if you look at the government sector, it is governed separately. So if you look at the employability or the employment legal system in our country, then we have to look at things like government jobs or military services, where you cannot work for different companies and different activities. You have to work for that particular activity. So that is a legal contract that anybody who's joining government job or a military service has to sign. There is one more area which requires where moonlighting cannot be done, which is the factory floors. So a factory, if you are a factory worker, you will not be allowed to do moonlighting. And this is where I want to draw everybody's attention, that all these companies who are saying that moonlighting is not allowed today, especially the software companies, I think they are leveraging this factory approach. They think their outfit is like a factory, a software factory, and therefore they are imposing that you will not be working in any other company other than the employment that these companies have given you. So the employees who don't want to work like a factory worker, and government employees, and also the defense services, and there may be few more where the moonlighting may not be allowed legally. But I think there is a huge segment, almost like 60 to 70% of the employee segment, who would like to work in a parallel processing way, where they can actually work for multiple brands, and actually if they have time and will, energy, inclination, they should be allowed to work for more number of companies so that they can make more money, they can generate more revenue for themselves. And that is where the landscape is changing, because if you work for multiple agencies, you do multiple kinds of work, and then also reserve some time for your hobbies, that will give you more revenue, more freedom. I think that is what people want. So leaving aside certain areas which are legally not applicable, most of the industry would have to adhere to this moonlighting concept, and by saying that I will fire you, I don't think it is going to work. So it is the job of the HR managers in companies, in large companies, to look at how the business landscape is changing, how the employee outlook is changing, and what they should do. I mean, they have to be more innovative in coming out with their employee contract, etc., so that they can attract the best talent. So whatever they were doing like 20 years back, 30 years back is not applicable now, especially after pandemic. So the creativity is required, especially by the HR professionals, HR heads of these large corporations, to come up with new employee contract, incorporating the moonlighting concept into their employee contract. So this is something which is very hotly debated subject, especially in the business, and I thought I will talk about it on my live stream. I would like to know what is your thought process, and I will invite all my HR friends who are working for large corporation. I like to know their point of view. So I look forward to receiving your comments on this video, on this live stream. And as you know that I'm live every day at 12:15 discussing business tips and tricks and whatever is happening, latest issues. So catch me again tomorrow at 12:15. You please take care, have a good day, and see you tomorrow.